Here's the first thing I wanted to show everybody, and this was at the top of the latest update email, and that is the AI image response generator. And so, just based on uploading images, I don't know how many of you have used this, but figured I'd go over that first. So, just from here, you can see I've just put in a building. I have a little fiveplex here. There's 3 different types of units. Should just check out like what's in here. 2 studios, 2 1-bed, 1 bath, and then a 2-bed, 1 bath. And just save and continue. I'm not going to add another building here. I'll add some site improvements, but I'll hit submit. And now, instead of going right to the questionnaire, we have this AI image scan. And what is this, right? So what we're asking you to do is select some files that are representative of the site improvements, some images that are representative of the building, which I called fiveplex, the studio, the 1-bed, 1 bath, 2-bed, 1 bath. Interestingly, I think I'm going to go back one because I'm just going to make this simpler, just because it'll take a little bit more time to do that. So I'll just do a single family home. And I'll just do that. Just be faster rather than having to wait. Sometimes you don't think about that till the very last second. So let's go ahead and save and continue, submit. Now it's going to ask me. I'm just uploading some photos of the site. There's only 10 photos in this one. Wish there was more. The more the better, but that caps out at around 50. So you don't have to have an infinite number. So I'm just uploading these files, these images, and then as they update, I'll just hit submit. And now it's processing in the background. And then when it's done, it'll push me over to the questionnaire with as many of the questions answered as possible. Now we're here. So over here, we've got, we're in our site improvements questionnaire. And then we can see our single family home here as well. And you can see the questions it answered. It answered the first question and wants to enter in acres. It entered a half acre in here. By the way, you can also upload notes. You can upload drawings here. I only uploaded images, but you can upload all those different things. And then, it said, want to enter, 600 square feet of, concrete paving. Let's see, what else? How many types of decks are there attached to structure? It says 600 square feet of attached, wood deck. Outdoor wood stairs, building material of outdoor wood stairs, pedestrian pathways, gravel. It's letting us estimate the actual length, linear footage of handrails, types of trees. This is a purchase, so I'd probably just let these trees go. I'll just go ahead and say no to this. Let me know if you guys want to answer any general questions like that. Pea gravel beds, it didn't put any square footage in here, but it looks like it identified that there were some pea gravel beds, so that's interesting. So that's something we'd want to go back and look at. If it's identifying that there was pea gravel beds, well, we will definitely want more than 0 square footage. It's also saying that there's edging material. John? Yes? You raising your hand, John? You also might be, you're still muted if you are raising your hand.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I had a question on those images. Can you go back and add them later, or is this a one-time, once you add them, you can't make any changes?
I haven't tested the what we would call all the different ways you can do this. Can you go back and add them? You can, but so let's say that, do you mean like you're already in this part and now you want to go back, or you're already in the worksheet and you want to go back?
I guess I'm saying we're in this part, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, there's a lot of questions here. I'm going to go out, take more pictures. Can you then upload those pictures and add them?
Yeah,
And
you
if so,
should be
where
able
would we
to.
go?
I'll have to check that specific, what we'd call that specific sort of thread, in the software. But even if you couldn't, like, if it doesn't offer you this again, actually, might as well just answer that question right now. So let's go save and return to building dashboard, and let's see if it asks us to upload again. It does. So now I can go back and I can skip the image scan. And if I do, it'll probably just go back and keep the answers it already had, because those got saved. But if you wanted to, you could just, you could go in and put more photos in here and it would analyze them. See?
Again, how did
So
you
yeah, you can just
access
go back.
that? How did you get that? How did you go back there?
Yeah, so I just hit go back to building dashboard, save and go back to building dashboard. So let's just go, let's skip the image scan because I think it's gonna just do it anyways. Forget this part isn't for you guys. It's just like an internal tool for us. But okay, it's gonna analyze them again. So now that we've gone back and gone forward, it's gonna analyze all the images again anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I hit save and return to building dashboard is what I hit. But you won't see this screen on every model yet. Right now, it's only on the single family home, the small multifamily. I think we're on multifamily as well, residential condo, and then we're looking to create to release. I would say the top 20 models maybe in the next couple weeks. So just look, you'll see that screen when you hit, save it. So essentially when there's a pop-up and it says you want to include site improvements, the next screen will be the image, the image upload screen. If you don't see that, then we're not covering that model yet, or at least not the configuration of that model. So as of yet, not all the models are covered, but in the next couple of weeks, we're looking to have sort of like the 80-20, right? Or the 20% of models that actually, no, it'll probably be more like the 60 to 70% of models that get used 80% of the time. We're not quite an 80-20 on that. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So does everyone kind of understand in principle? Go ahead.
Richard, Stephen Kaufman asked, can you upload a PDF of a survey?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, we accept, I think, all image files, so PDFs included here. You can upload drawings and notes, even like pictures of like handwritten notes, and the AI, our AI will attempt to interpret them and then include them in here. So yeah, that counts too. But just to clarify what's going on here, our AI is looking at all of the photos that we gave it for the site improvements questionnaire, right? Because we uploaded for just site improvements, right? And it's saying, okay, now I'm going to look at and this is happening really fast, but it's going, okay, in the context of this question, I'm going to try and answer based on all the photos given to me of the site improvements. It's going to do that for every single question. It's going to say, okay, how do I want to enter the land area? Well, I want to enter in acres. That seems fine. I have an acreage that I can, that I can put in here. And then so for the site total acres, it does the same thing. It looks at all the images and it says, okay, based on all the images I've seen, it's a half acre. And right, if you had notes or if you had uploaded a PDF of, your appraisal, it might take it from there. Asphalt paving, does it have asphalt paving? It's saying that there was no asphalt paving on this job, which was correct. There was no. It was a concrete driveway. There's no asphalt paving. And now it's saying that it thinks that there was concrete paving and that it wants to enter the square footage. And then in the context of this question, looking at all the photos, it says it's about 600 square feet. You didn't see any brick driveway or stone driveway or gravel driveway. Didn't see any site curbs or catch basins or trench drains. Is this making sense? And then the thing that I really want to outline here that to me makes this better than, what most AI companies in the space are doing. They're like, oh, hey, just give us all the information you've got, all your images and any drawings, any notes, upload them, and we'll give you a cost segregation study. Well, there's no way for you to know what the AI came up with, right? But here in SegStream, this is exactly the same workflow you used to have. And the AI is trying to do exactly what you would do with the same information. So it's very intelligible what happened here. The AI is analyzing each one of these questions with all the data it has, just like you would as a human. And it's trying to answer these questions to the best of its ability. Does that mean that it got it all right? It does not. What we've been seeing is something like 70 to 80% in the models we've released, according to our internal scoring system, which, by the way, there's a wealth of different scoring systems you could apply to sort of almost any situation. It's all kind of subjective, but we do feel like we've encapsulated, what's important into our scoring system. Essentially, like what we did was we ran baseline models and we said, all right, here's what the best humans on our team are saying these answers should be. Pardon me. And then now we're just going to give all the information to the AI and we're going to see what the answers they come up with are. And then we just compare them, right? So here are the best human answers we've got, for this exact property using the exact same data that we're feeding into the AI. And here are the answers that the AI gave. And then it's a little bit convoluted, the scoring system, but essentially it is, did it answer the right questions, and did it answer the right questions correctly? And then there's penalties for answering questions that it shouldn't have answered. And then there's a penalty, obviously, for answering a question that it should have, but incorrectly. And then for instance, numbers, so like here, like this 10, there's a steep drop off. If this number that the AI comes up with is more than, let's say, 20 or 30% away, depending upon whether it was over, we penalize more for going over and less for going under. Then it also loses. It has a penalty. So there's kind of a convoluted scoring system in here. But like I said, I think it really accurately represents the spirit of this idea, which is, hey, we're going to try and get you the most accurate answers possible, and according to the baseline properties we're running. And then we have a way of scoring these things. Even though we don't have, your properties are not baseline, they're not the same property that we're uploading. So it's hard to check these answers every single time, but we do have a way of sort of understanding whether it was good or not. And that way of understanding is actually, all right, now that you guys got the AI answers from our, response, you got the responses from our AI, how many of these answers did you change before you submitted? We are monitoring that. And we're going to use that information also to get better at answering these questions for you. Hope that makes sense. John, looks like you've got another question.
Yes. Are these photos accessible somewhere else within the software, or are they strictly used for the AI and to
as of right now, they're just uploaded in there. But we have so inside of every project, I mean, you have access to photos, right? Like that you can upload for your reports. We could actually just make it so that you could just pull them in directly from the ones that you uploaded from there. That might just make this part easier.
Right.
Yeah, as of right now, they're not integrated. As of right now, they're not integrated, but that's a great idea. It just makes sense. You've already uploaded them. Might as well just have, import from, directly from the image response generator. Jorge?
Yeah, so I think one of the big highlights here with SegStream as a software is that we're going to be auditing a lot of what selections are here, right? Is there a way, or is there plans to integrate it so that there's a way to see what pictures went into making a certain selection specifically? Let's say it chose brick pavers over asphalt, right? Is there a way to double check, hey, what picture was used to make this determination? Just to give us more of a feel for, how the AI is working and what pictures went into making that decision.
That is something we're considering directly because of your suggestion or a few weeks ago, Jorge.
Okay.
there is some debate on the team as to whether we can make that work. I think that there's always the possibility. I think it all just comes down to whether the prompt is going to return something reliable when we ask it for that. That's the key, right? We can ask it all we want. Oh, hey, what? And also, when you answer a question, please give us, the IDs of the photos that you used to make the final determination. It might just go, here, we used all the photos every single time, right? So that, that's kind of what we're asking in the prompt. And that's only just because, like, otherwise we would have to say, these photos are for this one thing, and these photos are for this one thing. And if we do that, then somebody's going to have to do that, right? Or the AI can do it. But that's essentially what it's doing anyway. It's looking through all the photos and it's saying, this is relevant to this question, this one isn't. And it's just all about getting the audit trail out of that, right? So it's like, can we pull, is there enough sort of context length inside of the AI to be like, yeah, here's the ones that I actually, I got this out of. And it's still an open question. It's something that's on our list, though, to find out if we can do that.
Okay. All right. Great to know. Yeah. Thanks for the update.
Yeah, hey, no problem. And I appreciate that kind of suggestion because, look, we're not omniscient. We're not going to think of everything that's useful. So we appreciate that type of feedback. Stephen, do you have a question? You're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that. You got me?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you very much to you and the team. These are incredible resources.
Yeah, of course.
A couple of quick questions. How does the system know that it got something wrong?
Yeah. So once again, that's kind of what I just went over. It doesn't really know, but if when you go through and you change anything, so like, look, I'm going to change this answer, right? I'm going to say, no,
it knows that I changed something.
That's right. When you submit this, it's going to know that you changed something. We're going to use that as feedback in the model. And we're going to say, hey, look, the users are saying you got this question wrong, some percentage of the time. We need to figure out why that's happening, why there's this mismatch between what the users are saying their correct answer was and the answer that you came up with. So this is a self-correcting system. That's the idea. Okay. Is that
I didn't understand that part. Okay.
We're going to train the LLMs to answer these more and more correctly.
Okay, so here's another question. When you upload a PDF, there's obviously a major difference between a picture of an apartment or stuff within a building. But when you're uploading, to go from a picture, an image to dissecting what's in that image and then try to make some type of relevant assumption is a little bit different than looking at a PDF and taking, is it reading text?
You mean a drawing?
Is it reading text or is it converting the image?
It can do it all. I mean, that's the thing about LLMs. I mean, they can basically do what a human will do now.
So could you zoom in? Because some of them have a problem when let's say put in a survey to any GPT, to any LLM. Sometimes some of them have no problem zooming in to recognize certain icons, so on and so forth. And sometimes they do, and it doesn't give you the right information. So the question is, when you do that, if let's say I uploaded a survey, would they be able to now take a look at the whole property and now tell me, oh, this is all asphalt. Okay, X percentage of this is asphalt, so on and so forth.
Yeah, so it's the idea is that the LLM is supposed to have context like you or me. There's more, there's a term of art called jagged intelligence, right? And that's like sort of like the state of the art now. Is that like I say it's like supposed to be able to look at something like you or me, and you can give me a bunch of images. And you can give me a bunch of PDFs, or I can give you the same, right? And then, ostensibly, we're going to be in the same ballpark as to, hey, this is, an overhead, a plat drawing that has, the square footage of asphalt or measurable square footage of asphalt, laid out here. And then these other things are just images of taken, from the site inspection. Can I, context switch and know the difference between, these two things? Yeah, absolutely. Am I going to, it can do that. We know that it can go, okay, this is not like a photo of the property. I'm not going to treat it the same way. But as far as the resolution of the images that gets uploaded and whether it's going to pick out the smallest of details, I would say that that's where the intelligence is pretty jagged. I would say that it's using sort of a general, it's using a very general algorithm. That general algorithm is based on, like this is how all LLMs work. I mean, based on what I'm seeing, here, what I'm seeing in the data that you just gave me, and then the data that I'm taking in right now, and then the data that I take after that, and the data that I take after that, what is the pattern that I can infer, right? Like what I'm going to infer a pattern from this. And if the data is small, like you said, if it's not a lot of data, in other words, like if the image is, say the image is full of data, but it's just a small, it's just looking at that one image. And by the way, there is an upload limit. Like we actually compress all the images that are uploaded because there's a limit to the amount of context it can actually take in at any one time. Inside baseball, that's 50 megabytes actually. So if for each section, 50 megabytes is the max, is the max context size it can actually take in. So what it's doing is it's taking all the data that it can, to some resolution, if you will. And then it's saying, okay, based on all of these data points, which I've already run through, the little brain, right? Like the model, it's basically like a little brain. And the neurons filter all the data through, and it says, here's what I think about this. Really? And that's kind of what it's saying. And it builds like a little model of the data inside in language, and then it references that model that it built when you ask these questions. Okay, so it's like compressing all of the image data into like words, and then it's saying, okay, words and numbers too, and just anything. And also there's things called like rags or whatever. There's data structures that are kind of like specific to these models, and it'll in whatever way it can internally, it'll build these models, and then it references that as like its source of knowledge when it's answering the question. And we, unfortunately, like a part of that is we don't know exactly what it's doing because we're not asking for that to come out. If we did, it'd actually be kind of a mess and it would take a lot longer. Like we're not asking it to give us its output, and that's part of Jorge's question earlier. What is it actually looking at when it answers this question? That could be more or less difficult depending upon the model we're using, the cutting edge of the technology when we're doing this, which is changing all the time. So it's sort of just an open question as to whether it's going to look at the right data at the right time. You or I probably could zero in and go, hey, the best way to get this data is to look on the thing and I can measure it, or I can see in the appraisal that it actually told me that the asphalt was this much. It's not that smart. Let's put it that way.
I got you, but it would be able to read the appraisal also. So, meaning in theory, yes, for site improvements, you would put up an appraisal and a survey, and it should be able to give you a lot of information. Okay, last question. The $1 million question: when will video be able to be uploaded?
Video. That's a great question. I mean, honestly, so when you talk about our total upload limit is 50 megabytes. That is actually that is a limit set by the models for their context window through an API. All of them have chosen the same length. It's probably just because they know that, like, in order for them to achieve like a minimum level of service for all of their customers, they just can't. They can't. They have to cap it at something, right? So, like, if they were like, well, let's cap it at a gigabyte. Like, well, then what they probably determined is then we can't serve all of our customers. We're going to have people that are uploading videos all the time.
Video would be fine if it's under 50 megabytes.
Yeah, but that's just if it's, well, right now we're not accepting video, but I would say that's the main reason we're not accepting it. So one thing you could do, very simply,
Richard, I walk into a 1-bedroom apartment, and I'm in and out of that apartment taking a very nice walkthrough, and I find a way of making it less than 50 megabytes, and I upload it. It should be able to give me almost everything instead of hoping that we have the right thing from a picture. Wouldn't that be more?
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm not opposed to running that experiment. So if you want to run that experiment, I could probably just run it here in my apartment if I wanted to.
Would the video? I'm saying, would the video act the same way? Meaning, would the response to a video act the same way as a picture?
I don't know. I actually don't know. I think it will be quite similar. I think what it'll do is it'll look at every frame right? So there will be a lot of wasted frames in there because a lot of them will be the same, right? You have 30 frames per second on typical videos. So you're probably going to get 29 extra frames per second at least. You're probably going to get, so at that point, like, you're that's a lot of wasted data. That's not to say that we couldn't implement. We could probably just implement some sort of a filter that goes, okay, well, let's take each video and we'll just take a screenshot every 1 second, and we'll feed those in instead. And then if you have, a 60-second video, that'll be 60 images, right? And in at that point, actually, we'll be pushing up against their 50 megabyte limit for sure.
That's
but we
always
can
something
compress.
you can figure out. I mean, you could always figure out how to make something smaller.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, this is an engineering problem. Unfortunately, that's a pretty strict cap when we're talking about images. It's pretty easy to get past the 50 megabytes with images. It's just not that. It's not that much. Now, that's 50 megabytes per questionnaire, just so you know. So it's not like
per questionnaire or per line item. Right now, you have it as a single family house, but before, if you had it by unit, I have.
Yeah. So this is what I'm saying. So like for each questionnaire here, right? So these are all questionnaires,
okay,
right? So each of these questionnaires, because when we ask you for the images, here, just go back through. We ask it for each of the questionnaires. So we have our site improvements questionnaire. You upload the images here, and then we have the whole home here. This is its own questionnaire. This is its own questionnaire. So each one of those, the limit is for each of those. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And right now we're accepting, JPEGs, PNGs, or PDFs. And, we're actually compressing these. So we're not allowing more than 10 megabyte files, but actually we're compressing each of the files down below, like just below a megabyte. And that's so we can get sort of like the max, like which we're calling around 50. So
if we can test it on video, I think it would under 50, obviously, that would really be that would be big. That would be big if it actually did it right. Yeah.
Like I said, I appreciate any feedback because it's not everything. Like I'm not all of you. I've done this a lot of times, but video wasn't the thing that I really was big into getting. I was just kind of taking photos always. But if that helps, absolutely, we're gonna try it and we're gonna see what it can do, and we'll see if it's better or worse, and we'll be able to actually do it. I can come in here and take pictures of my apartment, and then I can come in and take a video, and then I'll actually upload them, and I can test to see which one scores higher in our scoring system. So that would be great. So that's something I think we'll have to put on the list. I'll just have somebody write that down, and we'll put it on the list of experiments to try. And hopefully we'll know in, I would say in like a week, maybe 2 weeks. Depends.
We'll circle back.
That's right. Any other questions right now, guys? Girls, anyone? All right. So that's kind of the gist of the AI image scan. I had hoped to have our document ingestion ready for today's call, but we don't have that. We do have this is just kind of a cool thing. So now we're not doing like the org level purchase price land value thing anymore. Well, this is on the next deployment. You can do this so if you want to put the land value for this property and you don't want to do it on the next, now it's just at this level. That's just something else new that we're pushing. What else?
We have the best week too.
Did you have a question, John? Okay. So let's see. Another cool feature we just added. So we've had this dashboard. This isn't great for here, I know. But I'll just take you to the project status board. That was the business dashboard. So this project board is pretty cool. I don't know how many of you guys have seen this or messed around with it, but essentially, the first three here colored columns, these are SegStream generic columns. So if you have a proposal, it will show up here, right? And it'll show you, hey, this is the name of the proposal, and it'll show you any data we have about that. We have very minimal data in here because these are all fake. But it's the type of building it is, it's the address, the client name, and all that kind of stuff. So you can see all the proposals that you have, inside of proposals. And then when a proposal turns into a study, in other words, if you go, hey, create a study from this proposal, then it comes out of here and it goes in it, like, so for instance, this with SIO 104 would turn into a study in progress if I went, inside of the proposal dashboard and I went to create study from this proposal, then it will show up in here, inside of the study in progress. And then once I have a study in progress, it'll stay in here until a worksheet is generated. So in other words, until the questionnaire is submitted, it'll stay in here. When the questionnaire gets submitted, it'll get pushed into study and worksheet. Okay, so then, like, if this SFH image test, right now it's just in the questionnaire phase. If I went and I submitted it, it will show up over here in study and worksheet, and I can see this. And then from here, these are your custom review. These are custom review statuses. And now this is not this is something that has existed for a while, but some of you might not have noticed. But it's now become a lot more powerful, in my opinion. And I'll let you make that decision. But you can see, like, all right, the study's in the worksheet, but I need it reviewed now. So I'm going to put it into initial review, and that's one way to do it. So on here, you can't move any of these between the colored columns, but you can move from this study and worksheet to the review statuses. And that makes sense because review is not something that's like an absolute thing inside of the application. So a proposal is a proposal. A study in progress is not in the worksheet yet. So these have to be done, programmatically inside of the worksheet. But once you get here, the rest of this is sort of like meta work, if you will. So we're like, okay, this one's ready for initial review. I want somebody to review it. This is like a high level view of how you can kind of keep track of your jobs. I don't want to, we don't have to go, way in depth on this, but the idea is this is just an idea of how to keep or it's a high level view of how your projects are progressing through your own pipeline. By the way, a final review here, we can add in our own custom review statuses that these are just two initial review. Let's go to review. So I only have two in here. I can add another one. I could put completed. You can add as many as you need in here. Well, there's some limit. I think it's like 10, but and then I can even put a tour on here. I'll get to that in a second. That's also new. Let me hit save and next. And then I'm going to go back to the dashboard, and you'll see now I can move also any job into a completed job. Where did that go? Just have to go back. All right. Save. Ooh, egg on my face. Oh, am I in the right server? I think I did that in the wrong server. Did have one of these is on the staging server. I think I did it in the wrong one. Sorry. Let's see if I got it. Yeah, so I didn't put it in the right one. So completed job. Maybe just give it one of these just in case. Maybe it didn't like that. Not sure which server it was on. Watch it save. So hopefully you guys are familiar with this. If you're not, it's just under study options review. And you can create, like I said, I don't know, probably up to 10 on here. And then what you're doing, as you can see, is what you're doing is you're creating these different, statuses that things can be in. And then your whole team can see that, right? Okay, this job's now completed. And of course, if you're sort of the manager, that's great. Okay, you can see, oh, this one's been completed. This one's in final review. This one's in initial. This one's gotten to the worksheet, but hasn't been reviewed yet, right? And these are all optional. These gray tabs, you can call them whatever you want. You can even set due dates on each one. And this will just have all the basic information about each job. Any questions about this?
Yeah,
And search them.
Can you show us again how you add those gray columns?
Yeah, so right here. So it's inside of the manage organization. You'll come here, you'll click here, and that's what this is. you'll see this.
Okay.
And then you go to study options, review, and then you have these review statuses. And I'm going to show you what this is next, but then you just add them in, add another option. And as you do that, you'll see the columns appear. And those are statuses that you'll also see. You can see them here, right? So what is the status? Sorry, this is a proposal, so status. So those statuses will change in here as well.
Okay.
And so you can, like, at a glance, you can see, oh, this one's in review, in peer review. This one's in final review. But here is like this is that's great, just at a glance. But if you really want to be keeping track of it, I mean, this is the view to kind of see that in. Any questions about that? Any other questions? So now I'll just go through what these reviews are. So we've put together these like sort of generic review guides. And let me show you what that looks like. I don't know if anybody's tested this out. But if you go here and you say, hey, I want to go through an initial review on this job, it says, hi, Richard, blah, blah, blah. This guide is going to take you through these 4 steps. And there's actually 16 steps, but there's 4 sort of like headlines here. The number 1 is called the sniff test. Hopefully you guys think that that's funny or pertinent. What is the sniff test, right? So it's like, hey, are these cost allocations, are they correct according to, the percentages, right? And then if that passes the sniff test, right, then you're going to go on to sort of the next thing, right? And it's like double check the responses given to questions and questionnaires are appropriate for the property being studied. Okay, so now we're going to click on the study setup and we're going to go to the questionnaire. Now we don't have a way of taking you to that page outside of this thing. So we would assume you just go and do that and then come back to this. So you could just, open up the questionnaire on a different page, check it, and then you'd come back to the next step, filter by recovery period check. So now you're like, okay, let's filter by recovery periods. We'll click, apply filter. And now we're going to look at only the 5-year items, from high to low component cost. But this is in the actual, this is in the workflow itself. Like this is on the job you're on right now. And then you can remove this filter. You can actually go through all of the accelerated depreciation recovery periods to do that. Building and location multipliers check. So now let's review the building and location multipliers. Does, do all of the, the multipliers look correct for the different areas, right? So that's an initial review. We're really open to feedback on these things as well. The way we looked at this is when you guys have new people come on and they're really, they can learn the different parts of it, but, part of it is looking and taking a skeptical eye towards what's getting produced. And this to us is sort of like the first steps for people who are new to reviewing, right? And we have a final review here. And it's fairly similar, so I'm not going to take you all the way through it. But the idea is it's a little bit more high level, for people that are maybe that, or at least it's like a progression. So, if somebody's new to reviewing, have them go through the initial review. At least they've done that. Then have them go through a final review if you want. And then you know that at least they're signing off that they've done that kind of a check. Does that make sense? Anybody have a question? Okay. Sounds like there's no questions. Let's see. So I was hoping to have the AI cost ingestion. That's going to be on, that should deploy probably a week from today. And that's going to be cool. So now instead of you having to upload all of your cost documents like you normally would, the way we do it now, like where you have an import template. So for instance, I download the import template and it would give me a comma separated values file that I can open in Excel and then just I can actually copy and paste these from, a PDF, a contractor's application for payment or from a project budget, and paste them in here and then classify them in all the different ways. What we're going to do is we're going to have you upload your documents, and then the first step will be, hey, which ones of these are indirects and which ones are directs? It's going to show you a list of indirects. It's going to show you a list of directs. And, hopefully we've gotten that analysis mostly correct. If you see something's wrong, you can switch it. And obviously ask us if you think that something should be an indirect and it got shown up in directs. That's the type of question we take, in customer service all the time. But that'll be the first part. And then, once you get those organized, you'll say, okay, go ahead with it. Then all the indirects that you chose will show here, and it will automatically categorize these things the way we think they should be done. Now, once again, this is just like any other AI feature. You guys should take a look at what we did and see if it makes sense to you. If it does, obviously you can move forward. If you have a question, once again, you can ask us, hey, this is, does this look right to you? Or, hey, I have a question about this cost. And then the same thing would be, true for the next thing. Say I can go to direct cost setup, and it would show all the costs that we ingested and we call direct costs. And then it will automatically classify everything in here, right? Instead of you guys having to go in and, pull out a ton of different drop-down menus and choose, this, we're going to pre-classify all this stuff for you. And then you guys can decide whether that's correct. If it's not, you can change it, of course. All of this stuff it'll be modifiable just like it is now. Just make this a little bit easier to see. So you'll still be able to modify any of these. It'll just be, the same thing. It's just that we're going to answer all the questions first. And then if you make your changes, you see that, everything looks fine, then you can, go forward again. It's just, the idea is we're pulling more of the obstacles out of your way. And we know that, even if we're not 100% on all of these, if we can get to, 80, 90%, and then you're just having to switch around a couple of different things, then that makes sense to just have you guys do, the little modifications instead of having to do the sort of more grunt work, which would be looking at a PDF, trying to, manipulate the data into a CSV, upload the CSV, then go in through each line and pull, in these drop downs. Oh, I think this is concrete, or masonry or whatever it is. We're going to go ahead and do that. And then you guys will all that data will just show up on here and you'll be like, that's not masonry, that was concrete. Or that was concrete. Great. That's what I wanted. Any questions here? Okay. Unfortunately, it just didn't make it to the enterprise server yet. It should be it's another week probably. We just have that's our testing week. We make sure that there's no bugs in it, or do our best to make sure. Let's see, what else is new here? Proposals. Oh, something else we're going to drop, which is also not ready, but unfortunately, right now, you can merge these. These are proposals. So you can merge proposals and combine them into a single proposal. If you didn't know you could do that, this is how you do it. You're from the proposal dashboard, and you can just click a bunch of them and hit combine. And that actually relates to, for instance, this report and proposal manager, report proposal template manager. So right now we have, you have your single proposal template. That's what comes out when you do a regular proposal. But when you've chosen multiple proposals, like we did back here, then this is what operates, the combined proposal template. And you can upload a cover letter, and then you can upload a one-page report template. And that will, essentially, we've chosen 3 here, right? So we'll have a cover letter, and then we'll build a summary automatically as the second page. And then each one of these will show us as a single proposal inside of the same document. That's what's going to happen here when I hit combine. So that's a combined proposal. What's going to be new next week is combined final reports. So say we have a client who has, 3 projects as the part of the same engagement. I can, instead of just merging these or putting them in the same folder or deleting them, I'll have another option here that says, combine these into a single final report. And what that'll do is it will use, it'll take you through a workflow, and it'll have you pick the options you want. It'll have you pick a cover photo. It'll have you pick a new name for the entire final report. And then it will essentially aggregate all of the individual pieces. But instead of going, oh, here's one report, here's the second report, here's the third report, sequentially, it'll do it. Okay, here's the, post engagement letter, for number one, for number two, number three. Here's the, the table of contents will be singular. Here's the executive summary for 1, 2, and 3. Here's the narrative explanations for 1, for 2, for 3. And then the boilerplate will be just be inclusive of everything. So that would be like, the legal justifications, the statute justifications for taking this or that into accelerated depreciation. All of that will just be one document, because it doesn't make sense to have 3. It's not really custom per. It's not like, oh, this building, this, that building. And then at the end, you'll have the engineering reports for study 1, for study 2, for study 3. At that point, it will be just sequential. Does that make sense? And when any of you guys end up using that stuff, if there's little tweaks or something like that we need to make, like, what, we also want the sequential. Like, let's say we wanted all the engineering reports to be sequential. Okay, now I want each, I just want 1, 2, engineering report 1, and I want it for the first, second, third. And then engineering report 2, and I want it for the first, second, third. We could also, play with it with things like that. That's just something new coming. What else? New in the help center. We're always trying to update the videos we have and add new videos. We do have, this is great. So we have this built-in search that's made to search our knowledge base. This is not a general AI search. You can't put in, hey, how do I use Adobe Acrobat to do this? It's not going to tell you. But it will help you with anything having to do with SegStream, right? So you're like, how do I upload my photos for the final report? Yeah, that's a very kind of boring question, but it's just what I thought of. And then it's going to come back, and it's going to tell you, it's going to search our knowledge base for, the best answer it can come up with. If it finds a video, it'll put that in. You can, re-ask it a question here if you want, but, to upload the photos for your final report, follow these steps, blah, blah, right? And so the idea here is that you can get just more of a rapid answer rather than having to come down here and ask somebody. If that's not a good enough answer and you don't want to waste any more time, you can always just go directly to us, and we'll be happy to answer. It's just the idea is to add value. And then when you're inside of a job, this is dual purpose, this sliding drawer. So not only do you have an AI search, you also have notes. So this, I think, is great. This is something just really interesting. So I'll just add a new note here. And I'll change the name to, I don't know, note 2. And, it gives a little timestamp here. But I can also, the cool thing is I can go, you know what? I want to link this to this record, for instance. And I can go confirm selection at the bottom. And then I can say, wrong plumbing sanitary component or something. I don't even know what I picked. I didn't see it, but I can hit OK. And then anybody who comes into this job can see all of these notes. And in fact, we'd put, I'd probably do that here too. San component. And when somebody comes in here and they want to review or see what you've done, or they'll go ahead and check these notes. They can come in and go, oh, what is this wrong sanitary component? So for instance, if you're doing a review and you thought that this is the wrong sanitary component, you can say that. And then when they come in, they can click on this and it'll actually show them what the component was. So it's actually outlining it for them. And then you can write any note you want about here. And so for instance, like that's pretty vague. So it's like, this should be, 3 inches, not 4 inches. right? So that's kind of just like a general like review note. But like if you wanted like another note, you could go drawing said demolished building, something like that. You know, leave that as a note and then go in here, and then maybe, you know, you link it to a, you know, to a you can actually go and link it to anything you want. So you can go, okay, this building, you can say confirm selection, you know, demolished building. And then anybody who comes in here to review this later can understand why you did something like, and then you can go, you know, for future reference, this building was demolished per the plans. And then I can even upload the plans, right? So I can go, okay, I'm going to upload, you know, this or that. So I'll just upload it, and I have this, and it'll automatically save. And every time anybody comes in here, they can see this. And then you can also download the notes. You can export them to PDF in case, just like for your CYA folder and things like that. This is really useful, I would say too, like on the questionnaire. Come to the questionnaire, and you go, hey, I've got a note about, let's say, you know, this thing. What's up with the site total acres being 1.5? Why are... And then I can go, sorry, I made this part of the same note, but anyway, I can just say, I did a preliminary analysis and found that the site is at least 2 acres. And you just leave this as a note, and then you could just tell people, hey, go in and read the notes I left you, right? And then this is just an easy way to sort of communicate asynchronously about something that was done in the application, right? So if I click on this, it's going to show me the site total acres. Does that make sense? Like now, this will actually, you know, this will take me to the place where I linked it, right? You see, I clicked on it, and then I can open the notes again and see, you know, that note was, you know, about this demolished building. We're still making a few tweaks in here. And by the way, like this is a little bit like however you want this to be organized, like you can, all of these things, this is just like a regular text form. So you can highlight and whatever you want to do. There's lots of, you know, sort of bells and whistles in here if you wanted. Different formatting options. You can delete the notes, of course. Just delete this out if we don't need it. No questions? No questions? Okay. Let me find what's, oh, something came up in the chat, but can you upload a PDF of a survey? Yes, you can upload you can upload a PDF, you can upload an Excel file, you can upload a doc file, you can upload a text file. We pretty much take any kind of document up in here. Let's see, what else have we changed? We've done a few things. Those are the bigger things that I can think of, but I'm going to, hold on one second. I'm going to find, ooh. Hey, Nick, can you link me in Slack the text of that last email we sent out? Just want to make sure I covered everything. Anyone else have any questions, though, while I'm looking for that?
One sec. We are at the hour mark, Richard. Just so you
Oh,
know.
we're already there. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I did a pretty decent job of filling the time. Didn't even realize an hour had gone by. I'm sure everybody else is like, man, this guy's really just loves to hear himself talk, doesn't he? What an idiot. Okay. Any final questions? Because I don't want to take longer than we asked for here, guys. If you guys do have any questions about anything new coming, yeah, I'm an idiot. Okay, thanks, Brian. um, yeah, if you guys have any questions about anything we went over, any questions about anything else, I did kind of mean to get back to more of the basics. New construction, I know, is something that we've been, I've been trying to work on a lot to make a lot more intelligible. So that's something I think I'm going to definitely cover on the next one of these. We're going to try to do this at least once a month. But let me know if you guys have any particular questions about any of our workflows that you want us to go over. If you have any particular qualms about the way we're doing our workflows, love that everybody, that Stephen and Jorge and John spoke up on this meeting about the way we're doing things now on the AI stuff. So yeah, any feedback you guys have is definitely appreciated, and appreciate your time. Have a great day. Okay.